Imagine half of your entire customer base vanishes overnight. For American agriculture, this isn't a hypothetical. China, which once purchased half of all U.S. exports, has effectively walked away. For American farmers already facing what one called the perfect storm of high costs and crop disease, this move was devastating, but it raises two critical questions. Why are long-term, reliable buyers quietly turning their backs on American agriculture? And more importantly for us, how did Canada manage to step into this void almost overnight? What we are witnessing isn't just a market fluctuation. It is a quiet reshuffling of power in the global food supply chain. And the reasons for it run far deeper than politics or tariffs. To understand what's really happening, we first need to look at the one thing buyers value more than price: trust. And that trust isn't eroding because of one bad harvest or a single political spat. What we are witnessing is a systemic failure, a perfect storm brewing from within the United States itself and radiating outwards. This decline in American agricultural dominance isn't a random event. It's a crisis of trust with two distinct epicenters. First, there's the internal pressure on the American farmer. For decades, their business model was straightforward: plant more, sell more. That model is now breaking. Soaring operational costs and crippling tariffs have made their entire enterprise precarious. And when your livelihood becomes that uncertain, what do? You hedge, you pull back. The USDA's own prospective plantings report for 2026 confirms this quiet retreat. Planned corn acreage is dropping to 95.3 million acres, a 3% decline from the year before. It's a subtle signal, but it's a signal of contraction, not confidence. But the internal squeeze is only half of the story. The more critical damage is happening externally in the minds of the buyers. Here's where the real shift happens. For decades, American agriculture was the gold standard for reliability. That perception is cracking. For the first time, long-term partners are raising once unthinkable concerns. Inconsistencies in moisture content, variations in grain quality, and pricing that lurches unpredictably with every new tariff announcement. This isn't just noise, it's the sound of a foundation weakening. The numbers tell the story bluntly. According to USDA trade data, in 2025, U.S. agricultural exports to China fell by 54% in a single year. That's a $7.4 billion loss. Corn, a cornerstone of American exports, effectively evaporated with its market collapsing by 99%. Do you see the vicious cycle? Internal pressures force farmers to become less predictable. That unpredictability, amplified by tariff instability, shatters the confidence of external buyers. Those buyers then turn away, which puts even more pressure back on the farmers. In global trade, perception often moves faster than reality, and the perception taking hold is that the world's breadbasket is becoming unreliable. So what happens when the world's most dependable supplier starts to look anything but? This creates a vacuum, not just a market vacuum, but a trust vacuum. A fundamental pillar of the global food supply chain has become unstable. And in the currents of global trade, a vacuum of this magnitude never stays empty for long. It begs the question, if the old currency of power was sheer volume, what is the new currency that will define who wins this next era? Because someone is already beginning to trade in it. Quietly and very, very effectively, that new currency, the one that is quietly rerouting global trade, is dependability. For decades, the logic of global trade was simple. The biggest supplier wins. But in the vacuum of trust left by America's wavering reliability, the rules of the game have changed. A new strategy is emerging, not built on sheer scale, but on something far more valuable in a volatile world. Here's where the real shift happens. Canada is not trying to outproduce the United States. That would be a strategic dead end. Instead, it is methodically re-engineering its entire agricultural supply chain, from the farm to the rail lines to the ports, for a single overriding purpose: to become the world's most dependable supplier. It is a deliberate, calculated pivot from a game of volume to a game of trust. And this strategy is not a future ambition. It's delivering seismic results right now. Consider Mexico, a market historically in America's backyard. As U.S. reliability faltered, Canadian exports surged by nearly 50%, surpassing 400 million. This isn't a one-time transaction. It represents a permanent rerouting of a continental supply line, a fundamental shift in allegiance driven by a search for certainty. The data from the U.S. side confirms the disruption. Its own Department of Agriculture reported a staggering decline in corn exports, approaching 30% within a single year. The ripple effects are crossing oceans. In Asia, a region hypersensitive to supply chain stability, Japan finalized agreements worth approximately $450 million with Canadian producers. This wasn't a routine purchase. It was a deliberate portfolio shift away from risk and towards certainty. All this evidence points to one revolutionary insight for global buyers, and it's changing everything. In an unpredictable world, the most dependable supplier is now more valuable than the biggest one. This fundamental shift from volume to reliability isn't just happening in agriculture. It's a pattern repeating across countless industries. So, I ask you, in your professional field, where have you seen dependability and trust become the new decisive advantage? I'm genuinely curious to see the patterns you're observing. Share your insights in the comments below. Now, it's easy to talk about a strategy of dependability. It sounds good, it sounds smart, but you might be thinking, a few big contracts are one thing, but what does this re-engineering of an entire supply chain actually look like on the ground? Where is the concrete proof that Canada can consistently deliver on this promise at scale? That is exactly the right question to ask. Because the answer isn't found in high-level strategy, but in the precise mechanics of the system itself. And that's exactly where we're going next, to see how this machine of reliability actually works. And we will get to the precise mechanics of that Canadian reliability machine. But first, to truly grasp why that machine is so powerful, we must understand its opposite. We need to see what happens when a global supplier operates not with precision, but with strategic blindness. For that, there is no better case study than the United States' recent efforts in India. On the surface, the story seems simple. You hear a politician like U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick publicly criticize India for not buying American corn, framing it as an unfair trade barrier. It's a familiar political narrative. But what does the data actually show? In fiscal year 2025, as India's corn imports surged from other nations, the total value of American corn brought in was a mere $2.2 million. That's less than 0.1% of India's total agricultural imports. The issue, clearly, is not a general resistance to imports. It's a specific resistance to American imports. So, what's the real story? The first reality is that India is largely self-sufficient in corn, using it for animal feed and industrial purposes. It isn't, by design, a massive importer. But the insurmountable barrier, the one political pressure cannot solve, is regulatory. Nearly 94% of all corn grown in the United States is genetically modified. India's regulatory framework, the Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee, has not approved these GM crops for import. This isn't a trade dispute. It's a fundamental product-market mismatch. It's like insisting a customer is being unfair for not buying your product when your product is fundamentally incompatible with their system. What this signals is a critical lesson for this new era of global trade. Success is no longer about projecting power, but about intelligent adaptation to a market's realities. This kind of strategic miscalculation feels very modern. But is it? Or is it an echo of a much older mistake? A ghost from a past decision that fundamentally reset the global agricultural map once before? To understand the permanence of the shift we're seeing today, we have to look back, specifically to 1973 and a fateful decision that teaches us everything about the true cost of breaking trust. That fateful decision was made in 1973. To combat rising food prices at home, President Richard Nixon did something that seemed logical in the short term. He imposed an embargo on soybean exports. It sent a shockwave through the global system. But nowhere was the tremor felt more acutely than in Japan, a nation whose food security was deeply dependent on American farms. For Japan, this was more than a supply disruption. It was a strategic betrayal. The vulnerability was unacceptable, and their response wasn't to simply find another seller. Their response was to create one. Japan poured capital and technology into Brazil, transforming the vast Cerrado savanna into a new global soybean powerhouse. Here's where the real shift happens. This isn't just a story, it's a predictive model for how trust erosion permanently alters the agricultural map. A short-term action by a dominant but unreliable supplier forced a major buyer to fund the creation of a permanent long-term competitor. The United States didn't just lose sales in 1973, it created the very rival that would challenge its dominance for the next 50 years. Now, listen to how history rhymes. Today, China, feeling the tremors of American unreliability, is making massive multi-billion-dollar investments in Brazilian ports, railways, and farming technology. It's the 1973 playbook on a colossal scale, a long-term strategy to ensure it never has to depend on a supplier whose promises are subject to political whims. With this blueprint written so clearly in history, how could this pattern repeat itself? The lesson is stark. The global market is like a water system. When you dam a primary channel, the flow doesn't stop. It finds a new path, and it carves that new path permanently into the landscape. This logic seems to place Canada in an almost perfect position. But this is where the map gets complicated. Because for all our apparent strengths, Canada possesses a critical, counterintuitive vulnerability. A deep structural flaw that most of us overlook, which could undermine this entire historic opportunity. And the truly unsettling part? This weakness isn't external. It's built right into the foundation of our own system. That weakness, the structural flaw built into the foundation of our own system, is the Canadian climate. Herein lies the central paradox of our current position. The very engine of our newfound status as the world's reliable supplier, our prairie heartland, is also our single greatest point of failure. This isn't a theoretical risk for a climate conference in 2050. This is happening now, and the data directly contradicts the story of reliability we are selling to the world. Let's look at the facts. In 2021, a severe drought descended upon Saskatchewan. The result, according to Statistics Canada, was a record-breaking 47% drop in crop production for the year. Almost half. A system that can lose nearly half its output in a single season is not reliable. It is, by definition, volatile. And you can see this volatility priced in through our financial guardrails. National crop insurance payouts are a quiet but accurate barometer of risk. In 2018, they sat at $890 million. By 2022, that figure had surged to $4.9 billion. That isn't just an accounting entry. It is the direct economic signal of increasing catastrophic production failures. And the trend is accelerating. In 2023, the province of Alberta alone saw a record $326.5 million in payouts, tripling the levels from just 2 years prior. Now, the key strategic distinction here is not with the existence of risk, but with its concentration. The United States has a vast, geographically diverse agricultural base that can buffer regional shocks. A bad year in California can be partially offset by a good year in the Midwest. Canada does not have that luxury. Our export power is concentrated. A single major drought across the prairies is not a regional problem. It's a national crisis with immediate global consequences, forcing every single one of our buyers to question Canada's long-term consistency. So, is Canada's new rain built on a foundation of sand? This vulnerability is real. A 47% drop is not a rounding error. It is a signal of systemic fragility. But this is where the real strategic analysis begins. This vulnerability doesn't automatically disqualify Canada from its role on the world stage. What it does is fundamentally change the nature of the game itself. the challenge shifts from simply growing grain to demonstrating an entirely new level of strategic resilience. It transforms the problem from one of agriculture into one of pure statecraft. The real question is not, can we avoid drought? The question becomes, how does a nation project power and secure trust when its greatest asset is also its most profound liability? Projecting power from a place of vulnerability isn't a paradox. For Canada, it's the new reality of statecraft. It means stepping onto an entirely new strategic chessboard where our agricultural exports are no longer just commodities. They are geopolitical pieces with profound second-order effects that are redrawing our role on the world stage. Here's where the real shift happens. On the one hand, as Canada solidifies its reputation as a global food stabilizer, our diplomatic influence grows. Commanding the world's high-protein wheat market, for instance, isn't just an economic win. In a world where food security is national security, being the indispensable, reliable supplier of this premium product gives Canada a powerful, long-term seat at the table. Looking 5 to 10 years into the future, this means a bigger voice in forums like the G7 and G20 and significant leverage in a world increasingly anxious about its supply lines. But every move on this chessboard comes with a counter move. Increased importance brings increased risk. This is the other side of the ledger. Our agricultural strength is dangerously concentrated. Right now, approximately 70% of our grain and oilseed exports flow to just two partners, the United States and China. This isn't just an economic statistic, it's a strategic vulnerability. It exposes our entire national project to the political whims of others. And this risk isn't hypothetical. We've already seen how China's politically motivated restrictions on our canola can be used as a weapon, turning our source of strength into a point of pressure overnight. This is the central tension for Canada. The strategic challenge is no longer just about production, but about statecraft. The question is no longer just how much can we grow, but how do we play this new game to win? How do we leverage our newfound power while systematically diversifying our dependencies to safeguard our sovereignty? We've charted the quiet erosion of American dominance, the rise of Canada's agricultural leverage, and the profound vulnerabilities that lie just beneath the surface. So what does the path forward actually look like? When you strip away the politics and the noise, what are the fundamental choices Canada must now make to secure not just its market share, but its very sovereignty in the decades ahead? So what are the fundamental choices Canada must now make? The answer is dictated by a new and unavoidable reality. Let's retrace the path we've walked to get here. We began by charting the quiet crisis of trust in American agriculture, a system fraying under its own internal pressures. We then saw Canada's strategic pivot, not towards sheer volume, but towards quiet dependability. And we looked to history, which taught us that when these deep-seated trade routes are broken, they rarely, if ever, mend the same way. When you assemble these pieces, the conclusion is inescapable. We are not witnessing a temporary market fluctuation. This is a fundamental, structural, and likely permanent rewiring of global agricultural power. The era of unquestioned American dominance is fading. It is being replaced by a more complex, competitive, and unpredictable landscape where the old rules no longer apply. In this new arena, new powers are being forged. New risks are emerging, and for those who can see the map clearly, new opportunities are taking shape. Understanding these deep structural shifts is the first step to navigating them. If you want more analysis that gives you the full strategic picture, subscribe and join the conversation, because the final question now rests with all of us. What does this new reality mean for you?